Discover the amazing twist: she unknowingly sat with a mafia boss and changed her life forever. Sarah felt the crisp autumn air cut through her like the chill of uncertainty as she pushed open the door to the diner, hoping for a moment's respite from the unbearable weight on her shoulders. She was a nurse, used to caring for others, but today, the emotional battle raged within her. Her mother's medical bills loomed large, a constant reminder at the back of her mind, pushing her toward despair. Here she was, a dedicated caregiver, yet the world around her felt cruel, a healthcare system stressing profit while draining compassion, leaving Sarah feeling utterly invisible. Sipping her coffee, she scanned the menu, though her heart was elsewhere. The rhythmic tapping of patrons and the gentle hum of conversation faded as thoughts of career aspirations collided with the harsh realities of her life. Could she really elevate her nursing career while shackled to a household struggling? Just then, a voice broke through her musing. "Pie's the best here. Trust me," a charming man said, sliding into the booth across from her, a lopsided grin accompanied by eyes that hinted at stories untold. She almost blurted out her worries, hemmed in by the warmth radiating from his presence. Somehow, the safe space of the diner became her confessional. "I dream of being a nurse practitioner," Sarah admitted, her voice barely above a whisper, yet it felt bold. "But it's hard to imagine when my mom's bills keep piling," she added, biting her lip, unsure of opening this door. Did he care? Did he understand how it felt to choose between ambition and obligation? Tony studied her with an intensity that rattled her calm facade into fragments. "You're focused," he murmured, genuine admiration dancing in his tone. It intrigued her, pulled her in. His world seemed so different that of a businessman whose charisma could charm even the rocks in the street. They shared laughter over plates of fries and pie, an odd comfort mingling with her rising anxiety. Could he be a trap or a savior? As Sarah opened up, sharing her dreams of soaring above her circumstances, the warmth of connection dulled the edge of her struggle. She gladly pushed her worries aside, wrapped in his encouragement. Yet, doubt crept in. What resonated as a beautiful moment flashed with shadows. Who was Tony really? Beneath his allure, she sensed presence lurking beneath intrigue, a connection to a world veiled in secrecy and danger. Before she could ponder deeply, the conversation shifted, and he alluded to troubles with competitors. The stakes seemed higher than an ordinary business venture, a chill threading through her veins. She felt quicksand under her feet while the hints of his life drew her in like a moth to a flame. The very fabric of her existence, the family struggles, clashed against understanding the ties of his impending turmoil. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Her mind raced as she realized that her own family's name might be linked to the darkness swirling around his life. The tension gnawed at her, twisting around her gut as she tried to understand the implications. The diner, once a haven, now felt like a battleground of fractured loyalties, pitting love for her family against her burgeoning connection with Tony. What hidden truths lay in her family's past that could connect her to him? In that moment of turmoil, Sarah's breath caught as she pondered if aligning with Tony meant she would forsake the very essence of who she was, the nurse who fought for compassion in a broken system. Would she heed the cruel chains of obligation, or would she take the leap towards something that felt intoxicatingly freeing? As she wrestled her thoughts into turmoil, the world around her faded, leaving just her and the decision that would ripple through her life like an intricate web threatening to ensnare or liberate her. The days that followed were a blur of emotions and confusion. Sarah felt as if she were walking a tightrope, carefully balancing on the edge between ambition and family loyalty. The enticing idea of pursuing her career further, the thought of becoming a nurse practitioner, kept surfacing in her mind, but worry constricted her heart with each passing moment. It was a battle against herself, one that played out every time she stepped into the hospital or received another bill from her mother's medical treatments. Her shifts at the clinic dragged on, and each time a patient expressed gratitude, she felt both uplifted and painfully aware of her own struggle. No joy could quite erase the shadows of her family's financial burdens, each grateful smile a reminder that she was meant to care for others while her own life fell apart. Then, there was Tony. He haunted her thoughts, the man she had inadvertently drawn into her reality. They exchanged texts occasionally, his words a sweet balm to her daily chaos. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was inching close to an abyss with him. Conversations leapt from light-hearted banter to ominous undertones in an instant, threading anxiety through her previously peaceful moments. One evening, after an exhausting shift, Sarah found herself settling into her worn couch with a thick medical textbook that, despite the long hours, she was determined to study. Yet, she couldn't focus. A notification pinged on her phone, a text from Tony. "How about coffee tomorrow?" Her heart raced. This was her chance to discern whether he was merely a distraction or a pivotal figure she needed to understand. Could he reveal something profound about her family's past? Deep down, she feared what knowledge might surface. The next morning dawned gray and heavy. She arrived at the cafe, the scent of freshly brewed coffee mingling with the weight of her apprehension. Deep within her, generations of family loyalty battled against her quest for a life unmarred by fear. When she saw him walk in, the world around them dimmed, and it was only she and Tony in focus, the embodiment of her uncertainty. "Ready to take on the world?" he asked, his signature crooked smile lighting up his face as he slid into the booth. "Something like that," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. As they discussed their lives, Sarah found herself wanting to articulate the turmoil swirling within. "I need to understand the truth," she finally managed, her voice shaking slightly. "My family seems intertwined with things I don't grasp yet. Are you willing to share?" His expression flickered a rare moment of vulnerability. "There are things better left unsaid, Sarah." He leaned in, the air electric with tension. "But sometimes the truth can ignite a fire. Sometimes it can lead you to the path you're meant to be on." Her heart thundered as reality sank in. This wasn't just coffee between two people anymore. This was a pathway toward a revelation. What she did next felt small, yet seismic, an impulsive decision to ask the questions that could dismantle her fears or shatter her world, to confront the latent truths of her ancestry. "Tony," she said, her voice a firm whisper laced with awe, "what do you know about my family? Who were they really?" He paused, measuring her resolve. In that moment, she felt her vulnerability circle back into its power. She was taking ownership of what lay ahead, ready to confront whatever shadows awaited her. As she awaited his response, anxiety coiled within her as she realized the gravity of her actions. This wasn't merely a conversation, it was a choice that could redefine everything she knew, but the silence between them stretched long, laden with unspoken truths that threatened to tip the scales. With a spark of hope and trepidation, Sarah braced herself for what would surely follow. Her yearning for knowledge beckoned her deeper into Tony's world, where every answer could simultaneously unleash freedom and darkness. What awaited her would challenge everything she believed of love, of loyalty, and the very fabric of who she was meant to become. The silence felt like a living thing, coiling around Sarah's words as Tony held her gaze, his expression revealing nothing. The coffee shop buzzed with life around them, the clinking of cups, the low hum of conversation, yet here they were, suspended in a moment that felt eternally heavy. Sarah leaned forward, desperate to break the stillness that was beginning to suffocate her. "What do you know about my family?" she pressed again, her voice firmer this time, her heart racing as she felt the urgency of the moment. Tony's demeanor shifted. He took a slow breath, and it was clear he was weighing his words carefully. "What I know, what I've heard, could change everything for you. Are you prepared for that?" There it was, the tantalizing edge of discovery flickering just beyond her reach. Sarah felt a jolt of determination. "I came here to face the truth. I need to know. No more turning back. I can't go on wondering." "All right," he acquiesced, the tension melting from his features. "Your family has a past. They're not just ordinary. There were decisions made, allegiances formed, and from what I've gathered, those decisions have implications that reach far beyond you." Goosebumps pricked her skin. Though she had long questioned her lineage and its shadows, hearing it confirmed painted a stark picture in her mind. What are you talking about? They were involved in things, let's just say they operated in gray areas of the law. There's talk of ties to organized crime. The words landed like bricks. Sarah had heard snippets of stories, whispers of secrets passed down through hushed conversations, but to hear it framed so bluntly left a hole where her certainty once resided. It was exhilarating and terrifying at once. You're saying my family has a criminal history? Not just any criminal history. It's more intricate than that. Values, power moves, it's in the bloodline. Your grandmother was said to have been a figure in it, Tony explained, his eyes probing hers for comprehension. The weight of his revelation threatened to topple her sense of self. Sarah's mind raced, grappling with the layers of implications. On the one hand, this could explain the indecipherable weight of her family's loyalty, a stubborn, thick thread woven through her very identity. On the other hand, it unleashed fear like she had never experienced. Would the truth deride the family she loved? What does that mean for me? She asked, her voice trembling, still a whisper because shouting revealed too much fear. She sensed the rooms surrounding them close in, the other patrons mere shadows as her reality shifted. Tony shifted again, his body language more closed off now. It means you have choices to make, Sarah. You're at a crossroads. You can embrace it or break away completely. But the scars from those choices can last a lifetime. Sarah blinked, grappling with the very real possibility of stepping into a territory of inheritance she'd never known, an uncomfortable blend of privilege and threat, familial allegiance and personal desire to carve a different life. With every fiber of her being, she understood the magnitude of this choice. Her aspiration to become a nurse practitioner had always linked her to healing, a pursuit of light, but was she tethered to a legacy that demanded loyalty to darkness? The conversation stilled, the weight of impending decisions threatened to crush her, but a flicker of determination ignited within. This was her legacy, and if there was a part of her family's story echoing in the choices she was about to make, perhaps she could rewrite it. As her resolve took root, Sarah contemplated her next step. Would she unravel these familial ties and use them to forge her own identity, or would she simply be a reflection of her family's shadow? Tony, she breathed, feeling the ground beneath her shift, I need to know everything. His eyes darkened, and she could see the storm around him. Then you have to be ready for the fallout. Sarah straightened. I'm ready. But uncharted waters lay ahead, with the depths unknown. In this pivotal moment of choice, Sarah steeled herself, poised to dive into the family legacy. What awaited her was the burning question: could she forge her path in a life painted by shadows, or would she succumb to the very roots that sought to bind her? Her heart raced, echoing the fragility of the moment. As uncertainty loomed, Sarah marked the beginning of a new chapter in her life, one where her choices could either bind her to the past or sever the ties that weighed her down. With a final, ragged breath, she awaited the next revelation. Would she be ready to confront not just her family's past, but the dark underbelly of the world it could lead her into? The weight of Tony's words settled like a cold shroud around her shoulders, a stark contrast to the warmth of the coffee shop's bustling atmosphere. Each heartbeat drummed a rhythm of fear and exhilaration in her ears, an urgent reminder of the crossroads she stood upon. As she processed the implications of her family's notorious legacy, Sarah realized that this moment was more than a revelation, it was the catalyst for her transformation. Choices scars, Sarah murmured, her mind racing through the implications. If her family was intertwined with crime, she faced a choice steeped in complexity. Could she step into the light while grappling with such a shadowy heritage? The notion felt both daunting and captivating. Determined to seize the reins of her own narrative, Sarah leaned forward. Tell me more about my grandmother, she requested, her voice stronger, laced with an urgency that demanded answers. Who was she? The glint in Tony's eyes shifted, revealing a blend of respect and wariness. Your grandmother was known for her intelligence and for navigating the dangerous waters your family was embroiled in. She was a strategist, not just a participant. There were whispers of her having influence beyond what was visible. A surge of pride coursed through Sarah, merging with her anxiety about what that legacy entailed. Could she embrace that part of her heritage without being consumed by it? Do you think I could inherit those traits? She questioned, wrestling with the realization that she might not just be a passive participant in this legacy, Tony's laughter was low, almost reverent. Inheritance isn't merely genetic, Sarah. It's character, conviction, and the choices we make. If you wish to break free, you'll need to harness those very traits and make decisions that align with who you want to become. But it won't be easy. Her mind began to swirl with ideas of what mastery over her destiny might entail. She stood at the intersection of ambition and legacy. Could she leverage her family's past as a foundation rather than a prison? The fire in her heart quickened. Then I'll learn, she stated resolutely. I'll learn about my family, their choices, and why they made them. I don't want to be a mere shadow in their story. I want to be the author of my own. A realization struck her with new clarity. Confronting and understanding her family's past could actually fuel her ambition to become a nurse practitioner. She could carry healing into the complexity of her roots. Perhaps a new narrative awaited her, one that allowed her to transcend the darker legacies and carve out a path defined by integrity and compassion. But as her expression hardened with determination, Tony's countenance shifted. You must understand, venturing into this world has its dangers. You'll encounter people who may not want you to uncover the truth or forge your own path. I've faced challenges before, Sarah countered, her voice steady. What's the worst that can happen in pursuit of my own identity? I'd rather have that fight than remain in ignorance. Despite the conviction in her words, a flicker of fear lingered at the edges of her resolve. The darkness of her family's unseen ties threatened to ensnare her, and with each revelation, she felt herself teetering closer to that chasm. Very well, Tony finally conceded, visibly impressed with her resolve. If you're set on this, be aware that you'll be navigating a maze of loyalties and deceptions that might lead you right back to the same shadows you wish to escape. With a brisk nod, Sarah took a deep breath, her mind racing as she weighed the duality of danger and discovery. What do I need to do first? She pressed, her intensity building. Start with the individuals closest to your grandmother. They might hold the keys to understanding the legacy you inherit. But tread carefully, some doors should remain closed. As she considered this path, an adrenaline rush coursed through her veins. She was ready to unearth her family's secrets, determined to reshape her identity on her own terms. Her desires were clearer now, her pursuit of truth mingled with ambition sparked a fierce light inside of her. The aroma of coffee and the low murmur of chatter faded into the background, replaced by the sharp clarity of purpose. She would not just learn about her family, she would confront their shadows and redefine her place in the world. But as she departed the coffee shop that day, Sarah felt the familiar grip of anxiety creep back in. Were the truths she sought entwined with peril she couldn't foresee? And could she truly emerge unscathed from the very darkness she intended to conquer? Uncertain yet resolute, Sarah found herself at the precipice of understanding. What lay ahead was unclear, but one thing was certain: she was propelled forward by a powerful drive for self-discovery. As she left the warmth of the cafe, her heart pounded with the anticipation of her first encounter with someone from her grandmother's past. Would this be the moment she would unlock the knowledge that could change everything? The cool air outside the coffee shop engulfed Sarah as she stepped into the busy street, her determination electrifying her senses. The world around her blurred into a backdrop of movement and noise, yet her focus sharpened on the path laid before her. She had resolved now, a purpose entwined with the urgency to unearth her family's hidden chapters. Each step toward her first target, the person Tony suggested, shaped her resolve. She pulled out her phone, the screen illuminating her face, and typed the name Tony had mentioned: a woman named Clara, known for having been involved with her grandmother during the darker years of their family's past. What would she reveal? Would Clara be a gateway to the truth, or another shadow from the legacy she sought to escape? As she navigated the bustling streets heading to Clara's address, Sarah grappled with the conflicting emotions swirling within her. A part of her felt anxious, fearing the potential dangers of diving too deeply into the abyss her family had inhabited. Yet, another part surged with adrenaline, compelled by the desire to become the architect of her own story. Her heart raced not only with uncertainty but with exhilaration, knowing each revelation could inform her choices going forward. Upon reaching the brick facade of the building, she hesitated briefly. Would approaching Clara draw her deeper into murky waters? The soft rustle of leaves fluttered against the sidewalk where she stood, a reminder of the fresh beginnings tied to personal confrontation. She inhaled, grounding herself. No risk, no reward. With a firm knock on the door, she initiated the first step into unknown territory. Each moment stretched into eternity as she processed the sounds from within a clatter of dishes, perhaps a television playing softly. It wasn't long before the door creaked open, revealing a woman whose aura exuded resilience mixed with age. "Clara?" Sarah asked, her voice steadier than she felt. "Who's asked for me?" Clara's eyes twinkled with curiosity, skimming over Sarah's anxious demeanor. "I'm Sarah, your late friend's granddaughter. I wanted to ask you about my grandmother." The role she played, the words hung between them, full of weight and consequence. Clara regarded her with a blend of surprise and caution. "Your grandmother walked a fine line, dear. And I doubt you grasped the implications of brushing that part of your life." "I'm not afraid of the truth, Clara. I want to understand who she was, who she made me," Sarah replied, clutching the doorframe as though grounding herself. The older woman stepped aside, gesturing for Sarah to enter. "Come in. But know this, what you seek could unearth layers you haven't yet considered. Are you willing to bear that burden?" Sarah met her gaze, her heart pounding. "I am." Inside, clutter filled the small living room, a mismatched array of furniture and personal memorabilia creating an intimate tapestry of a life lived in proximity to secrets. A dim light illuminated various photographs, and the scent of something sweet wafted from the kitchen. "Sit," Clara instructed, her voice tempered with wisdom. "Let us see how much of the past you can digest." As Sarah settled, her gaze darted to a photograph on the table, a young woman with an unmistakable resemblance to her. "Is that my grandmother?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Clara nodded, her expression softening. Yes, but her beauty was only a part of her story. She was fierce, and at times, ruthless. The community respected her, but fear often shadows respect. With each word, Clara laid a foundation for Sarah to explore, a blend of admiration and trepidation. The dialogue unfolded like a delicate negotiation between what was celebrated and what was forsaken. Sarah felt exhilarated yet disquieted as she began to absorb these truths, knowing they connected her to her aspirations in nursing, the very conviction she wished to embody. "Are you prepared for what this knowledge might mean?" Clara asked suddenly, breaking Sarah from the spell of her thoughts. "This isn't merely historical, it unleashes legacies, some of which still haunt us. You may find antagonists lurking nearby, people who may not want you digging into the past." The weight of Clara's warning filled the air, making Sarah's resolve waver momentarily. Was she truly equipped to carry the emotional luggage that came with unraveling her lineage? Yet, the embers of her ambition flared back to life. "I want to transform that legacy," she stated, her voice firm. "I seek new possibilities beyond the shadows." As Clara leaned closer, an intensity ignited in her eyes. "Then you must be ready to face whoever wishes to guard those shadows." The conversation sparked something within Sarah, a realization that this was only the beginning. The embers of her family legacy intertwined with her future ambitions, igniting an unquenchable fire. As Clara began recounting stories long buried, Sarah's pulse quickened with each new detail. What lay ahead was a transformative journey into depths she had never expected to traverse, yet, a chill crawled down her spine when Clara whispered, "But there's someone out there watching this all unfold, and they may not want you probing too deep." Sarah's heart raced, uncertainty breaching the surface again. Who were these guardians of her family's secrets, and how would they respond as she sought to reclaim her identity? All that was clear was that the trajectory of her life was shifting perilously close to shadows she needed to confront. The moment of truth was approaching, and with it, the reality that she might have ignited a battle even she wasn't prepared for. As Clara's words hung in the air, Sarah felt a chill that penetrated deeper than the evening's coolness. It was not just the warning that unsettled her, but the hint of danger lurking in the shadows of her family's past. What kind of secrets could have such power over her, and who was this unseen guardian? With a determined inhale, Sarah focused on Clara, pushing aside her unease. "You mentioned my grandmother's influence," she said, her voice laced with curiosity but steadied by resolve. "What did she do that instilled such fear in the community?" Clara's gaze darted to the window, a flicker of caution flitting across her face before she returned to Sarah. Your grandmother was more than just a woman of beauty. She delved into affairs that intertwined with those who operated in the shadows, men who wielded control through fear. What do you mean? Sarah pressed, her heart racing. The revelation seemed to fire her ambition rather than deter her, igniting a spark within that said she needed to know more. Money, influence, and yes, crime, Clara continued, her tone somber yet urgent. Her decisions led her into dangerous waters. She wasn't merely a bystander, she played her part, that much I know. As the weight of her words sunk in, Sarah grappled with the gravity of their implications. This legacy was not just a familial burden, it was a tale draped in intensity and conflict. Each layer Clara peeled back revealed a new aspect of her grandmother that contradicted everything Sarah had known. Why don't people talk about this? She asked, surprised at the anger bubbling within her. Why hide such a significant part of our history? Clara leaned back, her expression softening. Fear, my dear. Fear of retribution and the ghosts of the past that still haunt us. Becoming entangled with people like that isn't easy to admit, especially not to descendants. The room fell silent as Sarah absorbed Clara's explanation. Each phrase added a new layer to the puzzle, but along with that understanding came a fierce determination. She understood the risks now inherent in her quest, but that was part of what made her desire to forge a new path all the more urgent. Then I won't shy away, Sarah finally said, her voice unwavering. If my grandmother lived through these complexities, then I must understand them. To be educated is to wield the power to change. Clara regarded her with newfound respect, a smile stretching across her lips. You've got spirit, girl. But knowing is only the first step. You need resources, allies, and a plan. The past doesn't just fade away, it demands confrontation. Where do I start? Sarah asked, her heart pounding with the thrill of potential. A shift had begun within her, this was no longer just about curiosity. It was personal growth, the exploration of not just a legacy but her aspirations too. Clara leaned forward, a knowing gleam in her eye. There's a man who came to her aid during her tumultuous days, Solomon. If anyone understands the nexus of fear and loyalty within that world, it's him. He can provide you answers, but be warned, his world is dark. Each suggestion unfolded a new doorway, igniting her desire to dig deeper. Where can I find him? The fervor radiating from Sarah brought a twinkle to Clara's eyes, implying both admiration and warning. You must navigate carefully, he's not someone to simply seek out. You will need to prove your intentions, show him you're worthy of the truth. And then, as if to temper her impetuous excitement, Clara added, he's a man of many faces and shadows of his own. Prepare for your own transformations. Sarah leaned back, absorbing what layers of complexities lay ahead. The very core of her ambition echoed within those walls, her dreams of nursing and reshaping her identity spiraling into new typings. The more she learned, the more she had to confront her internal fears, paired with external obstacles. Outside, darkness began to settle in, mirroring the uncertainties gathering in her mind. The stakes were mounting, and beneath it all, Sarah felt the weight of her choices pressing down. With this new lead igniting a daring plan, she knew her next pursuit would be crucial. Her journey had turned from a mere quest for answers to something profoundly transformative. Tension surged as she realized the time had come to face the shadows guarding the truths of her family and, ultimately, herself. But what Sarah didn't know was that her pursuit of the truth would soon attract attention from those who wished to keep it buried, dangerous individuals who would stop at nothing to protect their secrets. As that thought took root, she felt a different kind of thrill, one that resonated with potential peril waiting just out of reach. The game of uncovering her family's legacy had begun, with every secret she unearthed drawing her ever closer to the dark forces that had shaped her lineage. The following morning brought with it a sense of resolve that settled over Sarah like armor against her uncertainties. The echoes of Clara's revelations filled her mind, weaving an irresistible web of curiosity and determination. The urgency pulsed beneath her skin as she sipped her coffee, envisioning the encounter that awaited her with Solomon. This was more than a family secret. It was an initiation into a world brimming with complexities that would ultimately refine her vision not just of her past, but of her future. As she prepared, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that Clara's warnings were more than mere cautionary tales. They were a rite of passage, lessons steeped in experience and valuable insights into the often ruthless realities that lay beyond the benign surface of her idyllic life. With each reflection, clarity shed light on her intentions. It was a thin line she walked between uncovering hidden truths and stepping into perilous territory. This tension breathed life into her ambition, turning it from a flicker into a flame. What parts of herself would she uncover amidst the shadows? Would reclaiming her grandmother's legacy forge a new identity, or would it threaten to consume her? As she made her way to the place Clara had described, a dilapidated warehouse on the outskirts of town, thoughts of possible confrontations began to churn within her. If Solomon was truly part of the darker side of her family's histories, what price would she have to pay for the knowledge she sought? Understanding this was no small task. It demanded not only bravery but a fierce commitment to her own transformation. Upon reaching the warehouse, Sarah paused at the door. A sense of unease washed over her as she recalled Clara's words about Solomon's multitude of shadows. She pressed her hand against the cold metal, hesitant to commit. Would this decision test her core values? The way forward looked uncertain, and yet, in that moment, Sarah felt herself shifting, fueled by necessity and ambition, shedding the insecurities that once encapsulated her. Stepping inside, an oily darkness filled the air, a stark contrast to the sun that had greeted her outside. The room was expansive, filled with crates and a lingering presence that sent a shiver down her spine. An unavoidable instinct whispered for her to turn back, to retreat into the safety of familiarity. But she was no longer the girl who fled in fear. She was carving a new path forward, even if it meant diving into the abyss. That a figure emerged from the shadows. Solomon stood before her, his frame imposing, but it was his eyes sharp, insightful, that pinned her in place. "You're brave," he remarked, his voice gravelly, yet laced with a curiosity that matched her own. "I'm here to find answers," Sarah replied, the words unspooling like a lifeline. She wouldn't hide behind pleasantries. Honesty was her weapon. "I need to understand my family's legacy." For a moment, silence ensued, heavy and scrutinizing. She could feel the weight of his gaze, an unspoken challenge emanating from him. Yet beneath that intensity lay the flicker of something else, interest. "I've heard stories about your grandmother," he finally said, stepping closer. "But the truth is a blade that cuts deep, and not everyone can bear the scars." With that phrase, Sarah felt the stakes of her quest sharpen. Everything she had dared to believe about her lineage was at the brink of revelation, the impact of which would demand much more than she had anticipated. Her desire for knowledge morphed into something darker, an understanding that truth could lead to unsettling transformations. "Are you ready?" Solomon's question rippled through the air, his narrowed eyes examining her meticulously. "Because once you step into this world, there's no turning back." Sarah inhaled deeply, allowing the gravity of her choice to settle in. This journey was no longer merely about uncovering her past. It was about forging an identity forged in the fires of understanding, a path laden with both fear and empowerment. She nodded slowly, determination igniting within her. "I'm ready." But as commitment filled her, an unwelcome thought surged forward. What awaited on the other side of this threshold? Each answer could extend her grasp deeper into darkness and possibly unearth dangers she'd yet to fathom. The intertwining of her family's shadows with the harsh light of truth had begun to take form, and before Sarah could process the ramifications of her choice, an ominous sound echoed out from the depths of the shadows, reminding her that she wasn't alone in this pursuit. Something or someone was watching her, and the very darkness she sought to understand might be more than she had ever bargained for. Her heart raced as she understood the urgency of her next move. Ignorance could cost her dearly. The upshot of discovery held on the horizon. Would she wrestle and claim her legacy, or would the hidden forces guard their secrets at any cost? The air shifted as Solomon turned, his demeanor focusing in on Sarah with a newfound intensity. Her mind raced, the weight of his presence amplifying her uncertainties. "You know," he began, dissecting her silence, "the pursuit of truth can be exhausting and perilous. It takes more than just bravery. It requires conviction." Conviction. The word reverberated in her thoughts. She had traversed a landscape of fear and doubt to stand here, with him, in this warehouse filled with memories both tangible and spectral. But what did it mean to be convicted? Was she ready to stake everything, her identity, her familial ties, the life she deconstructed, on the belief in a certain narrative? I came for the truth, she asserted, but her voice was thinner than she intended, betraying the storm of doubt swirling inside her. Solomon surveyed her for a moment, as if gauging her claim against the backdrop of his own experiences. The truth you seek is seldom unblemished. It demands sacrifices. In that moment, Sarah was acutely aware of the fine line between inquiry and obsession. What price was she prepared to pay? The hidden corners of her mind whispered warnings, yet the possibility of revelation beckoned like a siren call. Could she transform this inquiry into a tool for empowerment? Or would it ensnare her in a web of deception woven by generations past? What kind of sacrifices? She pressed, her curiosity mingled with an unease that made her stomach churn. Knowledge comes with shadows, he replied cryptically. The scars of those who sought the truth before you are yours to inherit if you choose to follow this path. His words ignited a fierce resolve within her. Sarah had never been one to shy away or be subdued by fear. Her grandmother's legacy had already hinted at dangers, and yet, she felt a surge of fortified spirit refusing to buckle under the weight of uncertainty. Then let me see these shadows, she declared, her voice now firm, bouncing off the warehouse walls like a challenge. Solomon's lips twitched into a faint smirk. Then follow me. As he led her deeper into the warehouse, the clutter and debris formed a maze that twisted around them, reflecting her internal chaos. She reminded herself that this wasn't just a journey into the unknown, it was her reclamation of identity, her confrontation of ghosts that lingered just out of reach. They descended into a dimly lit chamber where a single bulb flickered ominously above a table strewn with documents, photos, and artifacts from her family's past. A chill ran down Sarah's spine as she recognized some faces from faded photographs, numerous generations connected to her name, yet cloaked in myth and shadow. Here's where the truth unravels, Solomon said, gesturing toward the array of memorabilia. What you see represents the choices made. Some sought power. Others, redemption. And not all emerged unscathed. She approached the table, apprehension blossoming into curiosity. Her fingers hovered above the artifacts, trembling slightly as she reached for a worn leather journal. It felt heavy with secrets, its leather cracked and soft as if it had borne the weight of age and regret. Each entry tells a story, some glorious and others fraught with blood, Solomon warned. Once you delve into this, you may reshape your understanding of family, morality, and your place in their narrative. I can handle it, Sarah replied, emboldened. Every part of her was alive with the thrill of discovery. I'm not afraid of the truth. But as she broke the seal on the journal, a gut-wrenching realization dawned on her. What if the truth was not just a simple chronicle of events, but a narrative that would shatter the foundation of all she believed about herself? The first sentence read, "We buried the past, but the past never forgets." Her heart pounded. What had she embraced by choosing this path? Would the truth illuminate her way, or would it lead her to a darkness deeper than the one she aimed to dispel? In that pivotal moment, shadows lengthened around her, a foreboding reminder of the price she might pay. With every turn of the page, she felt the ground shift beneath her, compelling her deeper into family legacies that were both alluring and terrifying. Sarah's quest had begun, but would she ultimately reclaim her legacy or become ensnared in the remnants of a past she was ill-prepared to confront? As the inked words blurred from her vision, a muffled noise echoed in the distance. It sparked an urgency, a sudden need to uncover more. Something was off in Solomon's demeanor. Her senses flared, alerting her to unseen dangers that lingered in the darkened corners of their encounter. What storm was brewing as she delved deeper, and who, truly, was the man guiding her on this perilous journey? Sarah's fingers trembled as she gripped the journal tighter, the leather now slick with sweat. The dim light bounced off the faded photographs and documents, casting eerie shadows that danced across the walls like specters of her ancestors. Her mind whirled, wrapping each commitment under the magnifying glass of valor and desperation. What did Solomon mean by the past never forgetting? Who were these people held in sepia-toned memory, and what threads tied them to her fate? Do you feel it? Solomon's voice pierced the silence once more, deeper now with intensity. The weight of their choices? More than I'd like to admit, Sarah replied, breathing heavily. There was a certain gravity, as if the air itself had thickened with expectation. She hadn't just unearthed stories, she stood at the precipice of an identity rearrangement. Understand this, he continued, the knowledge you collect here can be both a beacon and a blade. As she read the journal's entries, her sense of self wavered. Strands of her family's history unfurled before her, painted with strokes of betrayal and elusive victories. She read about secret meetings in smoke-filled rooms, discussions that forever altered the course of lives. Names whispered in desperation, lingering like ghosts in the frames that cluttered the table. With each page turned, doubt seeped into her resolve. Was she equipped to navigate these murky waters? The thought of confronting dangers beyond her understanding twisted in her gut. Yet a newfound pulse of determination coursed through her veins. She wouldn't be a passive observer, she was aware of the power that came from understanding one's own narrative. What did they sacrifice? She asked, her voice steadier now, fortified by burgeoning curiosity. Their innocence, Solomon replied, his gaze sharp as steel. Their integrity. Peace of mind. Caught in the intricacies of the stories, Sarah began piecing together shadowy figures from her family's past. One name resonated with her, the one her grandmother had often whispered about in quiet tones, cloaked in distrust, an uncle lost to the family, rumored to be involved in unsavory dealings. Her heart raced. Were she and Solomon probing into turf carved out by familial bloodshed? Had fear made her family tight-lipped, or had it been ingrained in them? Suddenly, the muffled sounds from outside transformed into a raucous clamor. A door slammed open somewhere in the warehouse. A cold shiver curled along her spine as Solomon's posture solidified, his demeanor shifting from engaged mentor to guarded protector. "Stay behind me," he commanded, positioning himself as a barrier between Sarah and the impending chaos. The tension in the air sharpened, morphing from an academic pursuit of truth into something tangible and real. The delicate academic veil she had put over her journey shattered, revealing a visceral reality. This wasn't just about reclaiming her legacy, the stakes were escalating beyond personal discovery. This was a harbinger of confrontation, a catalyst threatening to unleash the darker legacies of her lineage. Panic surged within her. Should she run, hide behind the remains of her history? Or could she confront the manifestations of her ancestry with an audacity she hadn't known herself to possess until now? Solomon eyed her, gauging her reaction as laughter echoed in the distance, hard, mirthful, echoing with contempt. "Now is not the time to waver," he urged, as if he could read the tumult within her. The air was thick with unease, drawing the line clear between safety and the inky embrace of the past. Would she stand in the light of confrontation, emboldened by her discoveries, or slip back into the shadows she had tried to escape? As the laughter crescendoed, deeper voices joined in, each accent a reminder of pathways her family had pursued that were now resurfacing with a vengeance. "Sarah, are you prepared to meet the fates tied to your blood?" Solomon's question hung between them, Solomon demanding. Nothing would be the same after tonight, and she was standing at the brink of choice, one that could define the fabric of her very existence. She inhaled deeply, the scent of old paper and impending storm mingling in her lungs. "I'm ready to see." But as she spoke those words, a powerful tremor of uncertainty gripped her. This wasn't merely about uncovering the past, it meant confronting the present in ways she was yet to fathom. What awaited her on the other side of truth? Did she dare embrace it, knowing that every choice now rippled into her future? With her heart racing in a chaotic rhythm, Sarah braced for the storm brewing ahead, unprepared for the revelations tethered to her legacy. Could she summon the courage required to face not only external conflicts but also the shadows within herself? As the chaos crescendoed outside the dimmed warehouse, Sarah felt a shiver run through her. This was the moment she had prepared for, yet the enormity of confronting her family's legacy suddenly loomed larger than she could mentally grasp. Solomon's figure stood grounded before her, the embodiment of strength amidst the chaos, a stark contrast to her surging anxiety. "I'm ready," she repeated, trying to infuse conviction into her voice over the laughter and hostility vibrating from outside. But to say she was ready to face her lineage and all it entailed felt like standing on the precipice of a cliff, the rush of fear mingling with the thrill of potential discovery. Be prepared for whatever emerges, and remember the truth often demands sacrifice. Solomon's voice broke through her racing thoughts, stealing her resolve. As if conjured by her burgeoning determination, a shadowed figure flickered across her peripheral vision, the pulsating sounds encroaching upon their sanctuary. Without warning, the door burst open, revealing a group of men silhouetted against the light, a gathering draped in bravado, perhaps mirroring aspects of her own family she had only begun to uncover. Adrenaline surged through her, and she instinctively stepped closer to Solomon, who remained poised like a fortress. "What brings you here, Solomon?" A gruff voice called, and the leader, his broad shoulders casting an intimidating presence, scanned the room, locks of dark hair spilling down as he sneered in their direction. Sarah's heart pounded against her ribs, each beat ringing with urgency. Would these men be allies or antagonists? What demands would they place on her in exchange for the secrets she sought? Unbeknownst to her, the threshold of her lineage was about to test her fortitude. "Eager for the truth, are we?" Solomon's voice remained firm, but there was an underlying tension that gave Sarah pause. "Your allegiance shifts when you navigate these waters, and facing your family's past 1TB without cost." One of the men scoffed, stepping forward with menace. "And what makes you think she's deserving of it?" The mockery in his tone stung, igniting something deep within Sarah, a burgeoning defiance she had nurtured through her journey. "I'm deserving of understanding who I am," she declared, surprising even herself with the fervor behind her words. "I refuse to stand in ignorance while a part of me remains entwined in shadows." Silence enveloped the room, palpable, pregnant with the gravity of her proclamation. Solomon's eyes flickered with approval and caution, the balance of power shifting in unseen waves. The men exchanged glances, seemingly taken aback by her audacity. "Courageous, I'll give you that," the main figure broke the silence, a smirk creeping across his face. "But courage alone doesn't shield you from the complexities of your blood, girl. The truth is a double-edged sword." "Then let it cut," Sarah shot back, emboldened by a newfound clarity that surged within her. This was no longer merely an inquiry into family history. It was an assertion of her identity, a battle cry that propelled her to stand firm amongst faded echoes of her lineage. In that moment, a shift occurred. Solomon stepped aside slightly, granting her space, a subtle nod affirming that it was time for her to take the reins of this unfolding narrative. The shadows of her ancestry beckoned, but rather than intimidate her, they shaped her resolve. "I'm not afraid of the shadows," she asserted, each syllable propelled by conviction. "I'm here to reclaim my existence and reshape the narrative in my favor." Laughter erupted from the group, a cacophony of belittlement, yet in that sound, she found strength. Every sneer and disdainful expression only reinforced her necessity to discover the truth, not only for herself but as a conduit for others who had walked the tightrope of familial expectations. The interrogation extended through the clattering of dialogues, and she elaborated, "What you fear and what I seek are perhaps one and the same. I am the daughter of legacy, but I refuse to be the daughter of darkness. I will leverage what is mine to take my place." "There's fire in you," the leader admitted, admiration flickering in his eyes. "But even fire can be extinguished, Sarah. Shadow knows ways of snuffing out ambition." "Then let us see if the shadows can withstand the flames," she replied, feeling the sense of empowerment wash over her. The edges of fear melted away, and clarity pierced through every potential pitfall. This was her fight, her future, her transformation, waiting to be claimed. "Enticing," he said, stepping back. "Very well, you've seized my interest. But know this: if you delve further, you're not just confronting the past. You're stepping into a bustling network of dysfunctional loyalties. They won't take kindly to your curiosity." "Then I'll find my allies, forged in truth," Sarah declared, recognizing that she finally possessed the keys to her past and future. And as the tension rippled through the air, she saw not only the fears sewn into the fabric of her lineage but also threads of potential weaving through the dark shadows, yearning for the light to unearth them. The men bowed to their leader's authority, shifting their eyes, weighing the potential paths ahead. "What if she proves to be more of a risk than we anticipated?" One whispered softly, perhaps unaware that Sarah was not only within earshot but also waiting for the right moment to assert authority over her own expectations. "There'll be risks everywhere, but transformation follows the path of discovery. So seize the opportunity, and I'll ensure your intersections remain fruitful," the leader responded, eyes narrowing with satisfaction, and there it was, the burgeoning dance between risk and opportunity, the veering path of discovery unfolding before her. She felt the duality spinning in the air, the promise and peril entwining at every turn. Steeling herself, Sarah ventured closer to the edges of the unknown. She knew too well the circumstances yielding hidden blessings. From uncertainty, she dared to emerge not just unscathed but established, fortified with purpose. This confrontation birthed clarity. The shadows she endeavored to explore could just as easily become a foundation for her aspirations as a nurse, a healer, an architect reshaping her legacy. She would not shy away from the authenticity she sought. A formidable healer could rise from the depth of complexity. As they left the warehouse, Sarah felt a sprightly warmth rise from within, a solid confidence emerging from the ashes of fear. She was no longer merely the granddaughter of the past, she was stepping onto a path charging forth, ready to unlock the complex corridors of history, embracing her role as a participant in her own story, set out to forge the legacy she desired. "Let us proceed," she said, her voice steadier now, eyes glinting with determination. The horizon stretched like a pathway of opportunity before her. There was work to be done, and she was just getting started. With every step toward the future, she was transformed, a woman ready to take charge, unearthing her identity while crafting her legacy, stronger than the shadows of her bloodline. This was her rebirth, her moment of realization, a journey ignited not by darkness, but by the fierce light of knowledge and the unyielding will to shape her destiny. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending below. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.